Thank you so much for taking time to chat all things glorious with me. Caught the film at Fantasia and really liked it. I can't wait to sort of like get it in front of the Shudder crowd. I guess my first question would be, bathrooms and horror films sort of go hand in hand. Obviously, you've got Saw, and more recently, We Need to Do Something, which have been set entirely in this space. But even things like Candyman have got these key scenes that play out in the bathrooms. What do you think it is about these spaces that sort of lends themselves to horror stories?
We always feel really vulnerable in bathrooms. Like, even if I think like what freaks me out, it's that I'm the type of person that if I'm at a party at your house, I'm going to look behind the shower curtain before I pee. Like we feel vulnerable in bathrooms, and especially in public bathrooms. I think like there's a certain vulnerability. Like we've all had that moment where feel like, we're walking into the rest stop that's like the bathroom of the damned. Like at any minute, somebody could just come in and take us. And I mean, even going back to Psycho, the whole idea of, just the
Yeah.
vulnerability of being in a bathroom where it is this enclosed space. And so that was part of what we loved about this project when it came to us, was the vulnerability of the bathroom to begin with. That from the horror fan side of me, I love that it's set in a bathroom because that's something that we could immediately relate to. And I was also able to use it to tease out kind of Wes's character a lot more, because the whole movie is about toxic masculinity. And as soon as I set it into a bathroom with him, there becomes levels of fear of the other guy, queer fear to a degree, that comes into it. So we were really able to use that fear and vulnerability to our ability with it. But the filmmaker side of me is going to tell you, like, filming a bathroom sucks. Like it's always like the least popular place to film because everything's reflective, everything echoes. And so then it just became like, how do we avoid all of these issues and try to, craft it out so that it feels less problematic to shoot in a bathroom.
Yeah. And the film deals with some quite heavy and lofty, philosophical ideas and musings, but at the same time, it's got a lot of elements of comedy. How did you sort of go about balancing those two different
Yeah,
things?
that is definitely a huge part of my husband and mine's kind of disposition to begin with, is we gravitate towards horror comedies. Like for us, those are kind of our ideal type of films. And so it was built into the original script. The original script that we received, which was called Old Glory at the time, was this beautifully delicate mix of horror and comedy. And immediately we said, this is kind of where this person gets our disposition and our kind of sense of humor, and the absurdism that comes out of that. Like that's definitely part of kind of our artistic core, and seeing that absurdist side come out was, it's what drew us to the script to begin with. And then for me as a filmmaker, while I was making it, it was really kind of thinking about how to have the film structured as comedy versus horror scenes, and then sometimes both. How do you use the horror to diffuse the comedy, and how do you use the comedy to diffuse the horror? And how do you take it back and forth, at a turn? How do you make it so quick?
I think it also follows through with the casting. I mean, Ryan is a great comedic actor. I mean, I'm in the UK. He was in an Australian soap, Home and Away, and his character Vinny he was like the joke character almost. And then you've got J.K. Simmons, who is in Whiplash and is known for these more serious roles. So even like right down to the casting, you sort of you keep reinforcing these two opposing sides.
Yeah, but that was our big goal with casting, was that it has to have this dynamicness to it, because with Gat, J.K. Simmons' character, we needed him to feel cordial. We needed him that when he starts talking to Wes in the bathroom, Wes is not immediately like, holy shit, this guy sounds creepy, and just bolts. We needed it to be like a level of social construct of, this very seemingly polite person is talking to me. I am socially obligated to respond, even if it's awkward. And so we needed that level of social construct. We also needed Gat to sound compelling, to sound calm, to be somebody that, Wes wanted to listen to, that we as an audience can listen to for 88 minutes, because that's all we have of him for the most part, is that sound. And so I had seen, JK in Whiplash. That was done while I was still working at Blumhouse. And I always viewed Whiplash as a horror film. Like it basically is a horror film with JK Simmons as the monster. And so we knew he could do this incredibly gruff, commanding, sinister presence. But at the same time, he's in like episodes of my kids' My Little Pony shows,
Yeah.
with this kind of beautiful, calming voice. So we knew that he had this amazing dynamic duality to his performance. With Ryan, as we were casting out Wes, we knew that he had to be likable and he had to be an everyman character. Like he's basically the lovable loser for most of the movie. And then throughout, we gradually see this other side of him. And so we knew that it had to have comedic timing. He had to have this amazing capacity to also go really dark and get all of the humor and be willing to go there, because I mean, he spends the whole movie in his underwear. He literally has to put himself out there. I'll use some air quotes in that, into the world. And so we knew that it was that we really had to find somebody special for this, because we have to look at him for 88 minutes and it's basically just their face for a chunk of it. And so we had gone through a couple of different, possibilities, and Ryan Kwanten came up. And at the time, I had just seen him in Joe Lynch's episode of Creepshow with Barbara Crampton. And he was also on the Amazon show, Them, that was running at the time. And he was in The Milkman. And it was these polar opposite. Like in the Creepshow episode, he was more kind of darkly comedic. And in the Amazon show, he was like sinister. It was like this sinister secret that you got was going on. It was a very subtle performance. And so immediately Barbara Crampton was already a producer, because she does a lot of work with AMP. And I reached out to her after seeing the Creepshow episode and was like, what about Ryan Kwanten? And she was immediately like, oh, I'll get you in touch with Joe. He'll get you in touch with Ryan. It's going to be wonderful. And like 2 days later, I was Zooming with Ryan, and it was immediately clear that he got the role. He got the humor. He was willing to go there. He was excited about going there and really pushing himself. And he understood all of the nuances and the existentialism of the script, like, because we were still in the pandemic at this point, like deep in the pandemic, like to the point where we weren't even too sure how we were actually going to get this off the ground, because we were all still, quarantining.
Yeah.
And so, but he was very excited and was able to put a lot of himself and his own existential reflections through the pandemic into it.
It definitely works, and the film is out on Shudder, very soon. Shudder is this big horror streaming giant, and it covers all facets of the genre. Where do you see your film sitting on that platform?
I love Shudder so much. This is now the third project I have on Shudder. So yeah, my first film, and then I have a short film on Shudder as well. And so yeah, I love working with Shudder. They've become an amazing family for me. And for this one, I basically love that some of our reviews so far has said, I've never seen anything like this. And our philosophy on set was always that we're making this movie for friends we haven't met yet. Like people who share that weird disposition, that share that love of highbrow and lowbrow mixed together in weird, absurdist comedies. And so I know that there are some of those people out there, and I'm excited for them to find this on Shudder and say, well, shit, I've never seen anything like that before, or this film was exactly what I was looking for. It gets my kind of weird sensibilities. And if nothing else, I've never seen that before. So, but no, Shudder, I consider them to be like the criterion of horror, so much so that I teach horror at USC. And when I'm teaching my horror class, I don't have my students buy a textbook. They are required, though, to get a subscription to Shudder, because it's the easiest way for me to get them to watch an entire history of horror for just a couple bucks a month. And it's so much better than any textbook I could give them, because I could immediately be like, we're going to start at the 1940s here. This is on Shudder. And now we're going to go to the 70s. And it's just such an amazing collection, curation of all of horror history at any given time.
Definitely. Well, I will wish you the best of the luck when it lands on Shudder, and I can't wait to hear all my friends say, I've never seen that before.
I will take that. Thank you so much, Kay. Have a fantastic afternoon.